Hi, everyone. Welcome to UFO Friday. My name is Michelle Umloff, and I am your host here. This is my company's name is Sewing Machine Artistry, and I started UFO Friday back during COVID, and it was just a way for us to kind of keep our sanity and stay in touch with one another. And it's progressed over the years. And sometimes I say, what comes around goes around, or the more things change, the more they stay the same. So I'm back to having streaming it out on Facebook and YouTube, which is super exciting for me because I'm not very active over in YouTube. So just to let you all know that I do have an audience in a Zoom as well. You can't see them. I can see and hear them. If they have their mute button off. So if I look like I might be talking to myself from time to time, I am, but really it might be that one of them caught my attention. So I hope you all are having a great December and a wonderful holiday season. A lot of things go on this time of the year. I don't know about you or what your family celebrates. We kind of celebrate Christmas, although it's just my husband and I. And this year we decided to go to Florida for Christmas, so that's going to be different. My mom does live in Florida, but I won't be able to visit her. She lives just a little bit too far away from where we're going. We had a trip to the Florida Keys back in November. It was actually like for my husband's birthday, and there was a hurricane that came along, so we had to go home. We took 4 days to get there and 2 days to get back home, and we stayed at the Keys for like 24 hours. Things happen, it's all good. Well, I'm super excited to share this tool and this project with you today. If you don't know much about me, my name is Michelle Umloff, and I am a national educator. I work with companies such as Clover and Salke, and I used to be a baby lock educator, so I have a little bit of experience under my belt. Ooh, that looks a little blurry. So I work with Clover, and I usually show a lot of their tools so that you can kind of see them. If you ever have a class with me that's in person, I bring a lot of those tools so that you can touch them and feel them and all that good stuff. I think that's just the best way to be able to use the tools and see if you like them, right? So I can only do so much online. So the tool that I'm going to share with you today is called the roll-in press. And this is what it looks like. It's a little brayer, if you will. So it will roll. And on the edges here, it is curved so that it won't leave any marks in your fabric. I remember the first time I had to work with this tool, I went to Houston Market and worked with Clover, and they said, Michelle, we'd love for you to demonstrate the roll-in press. And, I'm like, okay, fine, no problem. I got this. And then it sunk in. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm going to be there for 4 days, 8 hours a day doing this. So I came up with a fun little project for people to do so that they could at least try this. Nothing that was intimidating, and I'm going to show you what that was today. And then I've also am working on something new. And this is for those of you that even if you're not that experienced of a sewer or quilter or whatever your craft or hobby is, I know that you are very well capable of teaching that. How many times have you made something and maybe somebody at your guild or friend says, oh, you got to teach us how to do that, and like you're a little bit too afraid to do that. Like they mention those words and you have like the deer in the headlights kind of look, right? So I can help you overcome those fears. And what the really cool part is you can make a little money doing that, So like yesterday, no, it wasn't yesterday, it was on Wednesday. One of my students in one of my classes that I teach wanted to know how to do binding. So I said, oh, come on up. It was a rainy day. It was cold. It it was windy, it was all of the above. And she came to me and we spent a couple of hours and I taught her how to put binding on her quilts and different projects. So she's really excited that she gets to finish up 3 projects because she had no idea how to do it. It never turned out for her. And we just took our time and I was able to explain it to her and she was happy. And she paid me. She even stopped at the little Notion boutique on the way out. And did a little shopping. So I'm able to help you do things like that. If you're interested in learning more, continue following me at Sewing Machine Artistry. And I'm planning on doing a YouTube live tomorrow. I've done a very soft opening on this. I haven't announced this at all. So you all are like the first ones to know. So back here at 9 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow, 9 a.m., I'm going to do a conversation about teaching sewing. So if there's anything that you have any questions or whatever, go ahead and type that into the comments. I'll look at it and I'll bring up your questions tomorrow. How's that sound? All right, so let's get to the main reason we are here today. And you want to learn about the Clover roll-in press. So let me go over to my demo camera. Got you set up right there. You can see the roll-in press. I just have to slide over here and bring my microphone with me so you can still hear me. So, I don't know about you all, but I certainly understand why I have a lot of UFOs because I have a short attention span. Can you relate? I'm sure there are some people out there that totally can relate. So I have a couple goodies here that I'll show you as I go along. But the roll-in press, let's take a look at that. Remember how I told you it had a beveled edge? So it's kind of rounded on the corners on these edges, and that way it won't leave a mark in your fabric. So when I was at the Houston market, and I was demonstrating this for the first time, I was teaching people how to make prairie points. I figured if I knew how to make prairie points, everybody knew how to make prairie points until I went to teach a class and told them to make a prairie point using this tool, and they weren't sure how to do that. So I have a 2.5-inch square of fabric, and what I'm going to do is I folded it in half, okay? And I'm going to bring one corner or one side to the center and crease that with my roll-in press. And then I'm going to turn it over and do the same with the other side. So your prairie points for this don't have to be 100% accurate, because there needs a little bit of wiggle room for this project. So you can see I wasn't pressing down extremely hard, and look how well that leaves a crease in the fabric. Isn't that amazing? So I think this is very good to have in a classroom situation, because a lot of times things get bottlenecked at the iron. And the more things that you can have that can take place of actually using the physical iron, I'd say the better. I mean, if you still wanted to press that, you could go over to the iron and bump it, but at least it's all shaped just for you. And I also have to show you like my favorite notion of them all. And this is called the fabric folding pen. What it is it's filled with water to about here, and it has a couple drops of a secret solution. It's like a starch base, but you only need a few drops, like 4 or 5 drops. You put it in there and you kind of shake it, and then it has like a felt tip marker on the one end. If I could only take like one thing with me, this is it, hands down. But the cool thing about this is, when you buy these pre-cut fabric strips or even your fabric off the bolt, it always has that crease down the middle, and it's super hard to get out, right? Well, this fabric folding pen will remove that. So I'm just going to run the tip of the pen right along that edge, and it will take the crease out. Now, when I do demonstrations, I oftentimes can't have a sewing machine and and iron in the same booth. So I always have this handy. And I use it to open up my seams. But you can see how it let that flatten, and you can just let it, set it to dry, and it'll be totally flat when you come back to it and it's dry. You can still put it underneath the iron. It won't do anything to it. A lot of people ask, is there some kind of glue? No, it's just like a liquid that like relaxes the fibers, and you can see it's still very pliable. So that was the fabric folding pen. So I'm going to make another prairie point. We're going to fold this in half, give it its nice little crease there, and then we are going to fold it from side to side, making like little arrowheads. These are called prairie points. So I need a total of 4 of these to get started. I forgot to do the math. If anybody knows me, math is not my strong point, though I try. So we need, for one side of our ornament, we need 16, and 4 is 22.5-inch squares. So you'll see how many of the different fabrics that you'll need once I show you how to make this little ornament. I learned how to make this a long time ago. Brings back great memories. I used to live out near Deep Creek in Maryland, and we had a community Christmas tree for the which group was this? It was the Quilt Guild out there, and we made these ornaments to put on the tree, and then the tree went for auction, which was really nice. It raised a lot of money, and it was for a good cause. I think it was for like a women's domestic abuse center. So we'll do this one, and then we'll make that prairie point. So I have 4 of these. I dedicated this morning to working on this ornament, and I have to tell you, I don't have a finished one to show you. I was just getting so inspired and just having fun, trying different things with it, that I didn't finish one. So I have a lot of homework. So the other thing that you're going to need is some regular straight pins. So these are the ones that have the metal head, okay? Just some straight pins. You'll want to get like a whole box of those because you'll use quite a bit. And you're going to need some foam balls, like the styrofoam balls. So the ones that I have here are number 3s. And this is what you want, just a styrofoam ball. Okay. So we're going to open this prairie point up. I'm going to show you several different ways since I was so inspired making this. And you're going to put the pin like in the center of this area, okay? Because we want to hide this pin. So the little head is right there, and I'm going to fold this prairie point back up. And we're going to start at one end of this ball. And you know what else you can use? You can use a little glass jar. This is just a, was that like a half pint? Yeah, half pint mason jar. And I'm going to stick it in the one end here. Now, if you want, you can go ahead and secure the other ends, but you might have to make some adjustments. So go ahead and just use some more pins and hold them in place. So we'll go over to the other side and we'll put our other prairie point in just opposite of this one. We're going to make this end first. Okay. So I found this to be a little trickier to try to get that lined up just right. Look at that. I must be so lucky right now because the pressure is on. I'm surprised I didn't cave to that. All right, so I put my pins in there to secure that in place. All right, awesome. All right, then we're going to fill in these two sides. And the thing that I've noticed in doing this is if you try to make your prairie points like really, really pointy at the end, that head of the pin is going to cause that prairie point to open up. So that's why I said you really don't have to be like 100% accurate with your prairie points. And oftentimes, if you've been following me for a while, you know how I make the mistakes, usually live right here. All right. So that's coming together pretty good. I definitely will say, like, probably the more that you make these, the better they're going to get. And one more side. Okay, so I think you got that. This one, a pinhead, you think, well, how big is a pinhead? It's big enough to make a difference. All right. This jar does help a lot. So if anything, today I really came up with a lot of little tips to help this go much faster as my creative juices started to flow. So now we're ready to start the second row. So I have picked out some different fabrics here. I've got some gold, red, green. I don't know. I would say just have a lot of them. Like you're going to have fun. So you're going to want to have like a variety to choose one from. At least have 3. But if you have between 3 and 6, you will really have a great time with your imagination. So next, Michelle, yes, ma'am. I have are those 2.5-inch squares? Yes, they are. The question, oh, you're welcome. The question was, are these 2.5-inch squares? And they are. I'm even going to show you how to cut them using a ruler that I found at QuiltCon. QuiltCon is in where is it? It's back in Phoenix this year, and I will be there. So if you're at QuiltCon, stop by and say hello. That is a really fun show. The last time, there were like 10,000 people there. Like, yeah, I said 10,000, ouch, people there. It was crazy, but so fun. All right, so now we're ready to start the second row, and the second row is going to take 8 of the 2.5-inch squares. So you want to decide where you should start. So let's take a look at what we have here. We have 4 half square triangles, right? Do you want to start at the fold, or do you want to start like at the seam between the two? It really doesn't matter, because it's just a matter of you having fun and deciding what you want to do, right? No rules. I like that. I like to plant the seeds so that you all can have fun. So I figured out that my fingernail is about a 1/2 inch. So I'm going to put that pin in there, and we're going to do 4 to start, okay? Because we're going to have to layer up on this, okay? And you'll see what I mean by that in just a second. So let me make this. You know, I started playing around with it, and I was like, well, can we just finger press these to speed things up? And I would say you certainly can do it. It might be where your fine eye may or may not notice if it's creased as much as you might like it. But hey, if it gets the job done, I'm all for that. I think we can figure out a way to make it creased later on. You know, maybe a warm iron over top of it might make it creased. Okay, so I'm going to go opposite again. So I'm going to put my finger there, nail there. This is down about 1/2 of an inch. Okay, so again, you might have to move these and adjust them just a little bit. I will eventually be putting pins down at the corners that are loose, but for now, I'm just going to leave them unpinned and see if I need to make any adjustments. So you like that I showed you how to use the roll and press, and then we can use just our fingers to press this. All right. There was something else I was going to tell you. Sometimes I have a hard time doing and talking at the same time. Oh, I forgot to put the pin under there. So, yeah, I remembered. So you might say, well, do we have to put the fold on the outside? And no, you don't. This is when you become the artist and you get to make this how you would like. So if you don't want to see the fold from the prairie point, you can certainly turn it just the opposite direction, and nobody's going to think that you did it wrong, because there is no wrong way. Isn't that nice? You can't mess it up. You can just get more and more creative. I do have some that are partially finished to give you some inspiration. So don't think that I'm going to make the whole thing and make you sit there and watch me. All right. Let's turn that around. Measure about 1/2 an inch. And there we go. So now I can start kind of positioning this row and making sure it's even. So to help me out, I have a fold right here, and I'm going to try to keep this fold straight, or just make it look even. You might find that things get a little wonky, and if they do, that's okay. That is a-okay. I'm not going to put a pin down here. I'm going to put the pin over in the corners. And if you want to put pins down at the bottom, that is quite all right. So there we go. We got that right there. I'll come over to this side and work on that. So you want to go back and forth from side to side. Okay. I don't know about you all, but I really do keep my pins under lock and key. And I have a, what do you call it, a magnetic pin caddy from Clover. And I dropped it on Wednesday, and pins went everywhere. But luckily, that has a magnet to it, and I was able to get them picked up nice and easy. But I couldn't believe it. I have a cat, so that's why I like to make sure all those things, pins, threads, everything, are kept under, I say, like lock and key. All right, this is starting to take shape. Isn't that pretty? It's a great way to use those jelly strips or jelly rolls, which are 2.5 inch by width of fabric, if you didn't know that. They're available in pre-cuts. Now I thought I could use a jelly roll strip, but I won't have enough. So that's why I ended up using 4 to put up right here, because my next one is going to be different. Just didn't seem like I would have enough for the entire ball. Okay, so I'm going to do this next one. I want to take a shortcut here in just a moment. Hope everything's going well over there. I can hear my computer's like getting a little busy over there. It's making a little bit of noise. And then I'll take a little break and check some questions, see if you have any questions. So again, I'm going to measure a 1/2 inch from the center, and I'm going to stick that pin in there. This is where I find that the pin kind of throws me off a little bit. So you want to like look at your little points here to see how even they're getting. And sometimes you're really going to have to finagle it if you're one who likes to be like really, really perfect. So you might have to move it, readjust, and make some adjustments. But we're going to leave it like that. Okay, and then I would go around the whole thing, putting in the red prairie points, just like I did the green ones. So I'll put a red one here, a red one here, and a red one here, okay? And then we're going to start a 3rd row. So let me come over. I want to take a look. Let's see. Let me put me back on the screen. Hello. And see if I have any questions out here. Okay, I see. I love to use my fabric folding pen. Yes. And roller for paper piecing. Oh, good point. I love that. The square is 2.5 inches. Not a problem. And Jojo, I'm glad you're joining us, Jojo. Glad you're here today. Now, I do have this audience over in...
I can't get my picture to show, Michelle.
Oh, okay. We'll work with you a little later when I'm in the Zoom room with you ladies. How's that?
Okay.
So, I thought I was able to see if we have any comments over on Zoom or Facebook, but I don't see the control for that. I have to learn how to do that yet. But I will check all the comments later and make sure that I answer them for you. So let's go back to this ball. I have some more things to share with you. Okay, so we're back over here. We're coming along. I want to show you another one. Let's see. So this one is similar. I'm going to take this one apart. This one is similar. I started to do something different on this one. And as you can see, if you can tell what I did right there, is I decided to fold the fabrics in 4ths and quarters. Because I was like, well, how would that work? What would that look like? And so it doesn't have the prairie point down the middle. So that's another option that you have, but you can see how this is just really starting to come together. You're going to want, so this one has 2 rows, and I started row 3 right here and on both sides. So you need to have 3 complete rows, and in the center, so I'll have one here, you can cover that with a ribbon so that you cover up that the seam, if you will, where they join. And then the other one that I started, this one again is just the squares that are folded. And honestly, I think I like that look a little bit better. I mean, they're both very pretty, but I really think I prefer the one that's just the squares only. So let's work on this one a little more. I'm kind of thinking you might have to stick to one or the other and not mix them. It was just seemed like it was getting a little wonky with me when I did the prairie points and just the folded squares. So the one thing that I liked about the folded square was you have a little bit more control of that, and it was a little easier to maneuver with the pin because I'm able to come in here now. This is my third row, and I can use my fingernail again and place my finger right there, eyeball it, say, oh, that looks pretty good. I can open it up, place my pin pretty much like anywhere in there. I don't have to be in the dead center like I had to be with the prairie point, and push that pin head down, and it's not interfering with anything. Then I have the ability to go ahead and adjust this a little bit more, and then I can take my pin, and instead, I was just goofing off. I haven't finished this one yet, but I just put a pin down here this time instead. So I feel like this one looks a lot neater. So let's see, I still have some more of that fabric. So I'm going to make that, and I think it's going to go by a lot faster now. Oh yeah, I went to measure the 1/2 inch, put that up there. It looks like it's pretty much centered exactly where I want it to go. Open it up, put my pin in. I like it because I don't have to think about it as hard. Like, is it in the right spot? And then put my next pin in. And then the more I got to thinking about this, I was like, oh, this is so fun. Then I started thinking about those 2-inch squares that are already pre-cut and wondering if they could be used to make a little ball. But that, you would have the raw edges. But with those packs, they have the little pinking on the edge. And it might work. I mean, this is, if I measure this, here we go. It is, what's that? 1.25 inches. So that's 1.25 inches. One thing you might want to keep in mind is to keep your fold or unfold going in the same direction. So I tend to keep that a little bit to the right. All right. Looking good, isn't it? And one more over here. I think my fingers are hot enough that I can steam them. Steam it right here. So we're just going to keep building that up as we go around. Okay. That one looks just a tad off, but I'll live with it. Okay, so let's see, I need to do one more row here, and I don't have any more cut fabric, so I have these, but that matches, and that kind of matches as well. So I wanted to show you how to cut some fabric, and this is kind of good because from this one side, you can see how that looks. I think that looks super cool. So we'll just pretend that this other side is finished. And what you're going to do is take some ribbon and you're going to cover up the edge. So you're going to have to figure out how much ribbon that might be. This is one that I started intermixing the prairie points with this, with the folded pieces of fabric. And it's going to come out a little different. One video, there wasn't much on Facebook, that she said 7/8 of an inch wide ribbon. I don't have any ribbon that's quite that wide, but it's a decorative opportunity, right? That's what we like to say. But that's how you would finish off the center of it. Again, this is only 2.5 times going around. It needs one more right to make our third row. All right, so let's talk about cutting those 2.5-inch strips. I have a new ruler that I wanted to share with you all. See, that was another one. Oops. All right, so let me clear my space just a little bit. And we were talking about QuiltCon, right? So I found this ruler and bought it it was like February. And I've recently pulled it out and started playing with it. Does anybody else like buy the tools and have them when you need them, right? Or maybe forget that you even have them? All right, so that ruler looks like this. I'll put this piece of paper under here so you can truly appreciate what it looks like. So it has some grooves, okay? So that's a slotted groove so that you can put your rotary cutter in it. It has all these grooves that are every 1/4 of an inch away, which is super cool. I like that. One of the things I really like about this is it has this line right here, and that's 1/8 of an inch from 0. So it came in really handy with making these strips or the 2.5-inch squares for this project, for the ornament. So when I want to cut, I put my strip under here and I start at 5 inches and I take the rotary cutter and cut it, and then I go to 2.5 inches and cut it, and then I come over here at 0 and cut it. So let's take a look and see how that is done. I want you to be sure you saw all of those marks on the ruler first. Okay, so I'm going to line this up pretty good. Oops, sorry about that. I hit the microphone. And I'm going to take that 1/8 of an inch. Well, actually, I'll just go right here. The edge of the ruler is against the selvage. I'll cut it off right there. To start with, I'm looking at the little hash marks on the ruler. So I've always cut with the ruler once I learned how to do it. And I don't use the lines on the cutting mat. So I'm going to put that paper back under there so maybe you can see what I'm talking about. So you see how I have these little black hash marks, right? I'm going to line those hash marks up with the fabric, and we'll just pretend that the green paper is fabric. Okay, and that's how I know that it'll be straight. I'm not going to fully trust this selvage to begin with. All right, so that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to get out my rotary cutter. I like the smaller one when working with this. I put the 48 millimeter in it, or the 45 millimeter ruler, and it just felt a little large. This works better. Now, one of the downsides to working with smaller rotary cutters is that because the blade is smaller, it turns more, and these blades will seem to dull faster. It's only because they're getting like more revolutions, okay? So I put this in the groove where the 5-inch is, and I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to come over here to the 2.5-inch area. I'm going to cut. And then this is the part that I really like. I can cut at 0. So then I'll lift this up, and I have all my little scraps there. I have my pieces of fabric right here. So I did fold that in half, so I do have 4 2.5-inch squares. Perfect. So I'm going to continue on down the row. Let's see how many we get out of here. All right, so now I'm going to put that 1/8 inch mark again right here, okay, on the edge. And sometimes I do take a look at a line, a hash mark, or whatever, just to make sure it's pretty straight. If you have experience quilting, you know how it is to make sure that your fabric is nice and straight. So I bumped my finger there, but it didn't mess things up much, if at all. So there's the little slices and 2 more or 4 more squares. They do make this ruler in a much bigger size. I just opted for something small. Now, the cutting mat that I'm working on is by Sew Tights, right? So it's a cutting mat on 2 sides, and in the middle it's like metal, so it's magnetic. And I have some of their magnets. Oops, you can't see it. The magnets that came with my set, and I can put them on this ruler too, and it's going to help to hold the ruler in place. So let's give it a try. I'll put a hand behind my back. Just kidding. I'll just gently put my hand right here, 5 inches. I really do like this magnetic cutting system because you don't have to work as hard. So you don't get as tired when you're cutting. So look at that. That was really nice. I do have I do have an affiliate link for Sew Tights.
Just me, Bevis, Washington, Rose, and Linnell, and Judy. That's all. So,
So you had hot chocolate or you had coffee?
So I got 4 more. Hold on for just a second.
Hello. Hi, come on in.
I thought maybe I could make the latte.
Wait, I gotta mute.
Yeah, thanks, JoJo. My ladies over in Zoom are socializing, and that's cool. We have our social hour after this. All right, so I got my ruler back and my magnets in the way. We're gonna get 1 more cut out of this. I can put those magnets on so you can see them. They come with 12 magnets and another bigger ruler that goes with this mat. So we'll do the 5, 2.5. I like how it's so easy to see. And then 0. There's our little scrap. Look, so we had plenty of room to take off that 1/8 of an inch. And then we got 4 more of those. So I have an affiliate links with some of these companies. I'll share them with you. Let me find my screen. This one is for Sewing Parts Online, and Sewing Parts Online carries a variety of products. So they're probably going to have things like this. This is called the Hold It Stiletto. This was the 28mm rotary cutter by Clover. We got the roll and press, and I showed you the fabric roll or the fabric folding pen. That's also by Clover. And then the creative grids. I just didn't make it over to Sewing Parts Online to see if they carried that, but everybody seems to be having some really nice sales right now, and you might be able to find something good over there. I do have an affiliate link for Sew Tights. So Sew Tights makes this cutting mat, and this is only one of some really nice magnetic products that they have, but they have a ruler that goes with it that fits the whole width of this board. This mat is 20 by 24. It has a 6.5 inch wide ruler that goes with it, that will be magnetic by itself, but then you can make it extra magnetic with these little magnets. They call them boosters, so you can even stack them on top of each other to make it hold it in place really well. And then they had a straight pin cushion right here that is nice. I was playing with that. I put this little disc underneath my sleeve, and place that on top. So I had my own magnetic pin cushion, kind of like as a bracelet. All right, ladies, so that's the ornament. The challenge will be for me to finish one of these so I don't have some UFOs hanging around here, so that we don't have some more UFO sightings in my sewing space. And let me know what you think about that project. I'm going to come back and see you off. Well, thank you all very much for joining me for this. It was my pleasure to show you these tools and to help you learn how to make an ornament. Feel free to make them in any colors using different fabrics and things like that, and post pictures. I'd love to see them. So I wish you all a very happy holiday season, and the next UFO Friday I will make an announcement about that. But while you have me on here, oh, let me look at the calendar. I know the date, but I want to make sure I say it correctly, because you know how I get about those dates. It is January 17th in 2025, okay? January 17th, so I will see you all next year. Thank you, and tune in tomorrow if you want to be here for a business segment. I'll be on live in YouTube, probably Facebook too. All right, have a good one. Thank you.